All righty, let's take a couple minutes here, maybe three, and talk about oxygen sensors and waveforms and what an oxygen sensor really is. In simple technology, the O2 sensor is a tattletale to your whole computerized electrical system regarding emissions. So when we look at an oxygen sensor, some things that we want to know about it first off. What is it? What does it accomplish? Well, it generates its own voltage. Anywhere from 0.1 to 1 volt base is what we're usually looking at. The computer uses this richer lean information to then make the adjustments. Now remember, we are looking at oxygen content. This is where it kind of gets flipped backwards because people think an O2 sensor and they have a tendency to look at the fuel side of it versus the oxygen side of it. The whole thing to be achieved by the O2 sensor is stoichiometric. What's stoichiometric? Learned that years ago in high school. Didn't understand it back then, didn't really care. We were carbureted. Hey, it ran, we had fun, whatever. Stoichiometric is 14.7 to 1. So what that's saying is the O2 is sending back to the ECM where everything is, because on emissions, we want that car, well, the government wants that car to be at a 14.7 parts of air to 1 part of fuel. That is where it runs the best. And that's not just government, that's where the car runs the best, is that stoichiometry is what we want to achieve. Where it's located in is the exhaust pipe. We always have one before the catalytic converter and one after the catalytic converter. We have a pre-before, a post-after. The post-after is tattletelling on the converter itself to let us know that that converter is working. So when we look at them, O2 sensors, a new O2 with no defects is what you'll see here on the first one. Second one, here's one damaged by antifreeze. Antifreeze will take an O2 out. You have a head gasket issue, you got to replace the O2 sensors because they're bad. Or it could be, again, I like to hook up a lab scope to make sure, but if they're not, then they are going to be on their way out because it is not good for the O2 sensor. Sensors that have been damaged by rich air fuel mixture. So you end up having that rich mixture coming through. It can only handle it for so long. Sensor here has been damaged by silicone poisoning. This one's been damaged by lead poisoning. Of course, I haven't seen that in a while, not lead in our gas, like there was back then when we were growing up having a blast with stuff. And have you noticed gas kind of smells really bad now if you're as old as I am, because there was a time younger, it kind of smelled good. So let's look at, we hook up our scan tool. We can look at it that way. I still like to do the lab scope if I think there's a reason to be looking at this sensor for a reason of it being bad. It doesn't take long to hook a lab scope up, guys and gals. And when you do, you know everything that's going on. Check this out here. Look at the replay on number 4. Right away, you can tell this one's got an issue, right? So we have this one here. It's not centered. See how here's our center line. See how it's biased to one side? You'd have looked at that and thought, hey, this is a fine O2 sensor. There's nothing wrong with this. Yeah, there is. So these are the things you've got to look at. And we'll talk more about lab scopes. Right here, look what's happening. We're up here and it's flat line. So we know we got a problem. Here, same kind of thing. Look at the dropouts that we're finding in this O2 sensor as it's doing its swing. Because here's what's happening. That O2 is going up and it's telling the story and then it drops out. And it goes back up to tell the story and then it drops out. So the PCM ECU is going broop, 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 back and forth, not knowing what to do. So at that one, on the lab scope, the biggest thing I'm looking for is to see if that O2 sensor is low on the milliseconds on its rise time. That's your benchmark. This one here we can see is at 164 milliseconds, well above 100 milliseconds. If it's above 100 milliseconds, I'm replacing the O2. And I've got proof to show the consumer or service manager or service writer or owner or whoever it may be that this has an issue. A new oxygen sensor is going to be somewhere around 25 milliseconds or less. Here's a cutaway of an oxygen sensor. Those that know me, know that I love cutting things apart to look at them. I still have that Missourian show me state attitude where I want to see what it looks like inside. Kind of hard to do on an O2 sensor, but this gives you an idea of what's going on inside. And here's some oxygen waveforms of normal operation, engine running lean, bad sensor, reduced cross counts, engine running rich. So with some of the things before I close here that I want to talk about, one of the things on an O2 is if I have my scan tool hooked up and I've got an O2 code and it's kind of flatline, I'm going to nail that gas a couple times. I'm going to hit that throttle. I want to see a change in it. I've even been known to create a vacuum leak because I want to see that O2 is capable of doing what it should do first off before I go any deeper into it. So anyway, a good start for you that are wanting to understand a little bit more about oxygen sensors. We'll do some training classes to get more in depth, but this is just kind of a real quick deal to get you an idea of what you should be looking for. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to us, messenger us. The website's mechanicalliance.com. We have a talk deal on there. Sign up. We're $10 a month is all we are. With the $10, you get training stuff in there, and you get us personally too, as much as we can to help you with what you're doing. So we appreciate your time for checking us out. Mechanical Alliance is here to inspire mechanics to invest in their future, not just diagnostic-wise, but primarily that you're being paid financially for what you do and the job that you do every day. Thanks, and have a fantastic day.